Welcome back to the channel. My name is Zachary Smith. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell before we dive in to the content. And the content, I know I keep promising you guys every single video that I make. Eventually, there will be more than just wrestling content on this channel, but that ain't happening today. We're still on the wrestling content this weekend, WrestleMania 41. However, for the first time on this channel, I got somebody with me, my boy Doug Marsh, to go through this, work through WrestleMania 41 with me. We're going to do a preview of the show. We're going to do predictions for the show. And what better person to have on it than my boy Doug Marsh, who will be in attendance at Allegiant Stadium over the weekend for WrestleMania 41. Doug, how we doing? Welcome to the channel.
Not too bad, Smitty. Thanks for having me. Yeah, big fan of Las Vegas. Went out there for the first time 2 years ago, and as you said, I will be in the building Saturday and Sunday. Did not buy tickets yet. They're actually dropping. They're about 200 for night one on TickPick, hovering around 300 something for night two. As you know, me and you were both at Mania weekend last year. You guys had way better seats than I did, but ended up beating the market. Ended up beating the market both nights. Just had slightly obstructed view, the stage blocking the setup blocking out, but otherwise could see the ring and everything too. So really curious how it's going to be in the Roomba Dome, as I call it, but Allegiant Stadium, as it's properly called.
The Death Star out there at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what the setup looks like and seeing all the pictures and videos that you get from the weekend. But yeah, it's gonna be a cool experience. I'm sure it's gonna be a great experience. But like, that's a whole different topic in terms of the prices and the ticket sales that have taken place. I just feel like in general, and I'm not one of those people, like, the internet wrestling community in general is a pretty bad place if you get really involved with them deep in Twitter. And I don't like to associate with that. That's honestly why I, for so long, was against putting out wrestling content, because I didn't want to get thrown into that bucket along with them. But I know that that's like a big topic in terms of like this not being as great of a build towards WrestleMania as listen, if you're going to compare everything to the build and the event of WrestleMania 40, I feel like you're going to be disappointed every year from here on out, if that's what you're going to compare it to. But anyways, that's a topic for another day. We're here to preview and predict every match that is on the WrestleMania 41 card. Now, I didn't probably go about this the best way in terms of separating these matches, in terms of like, I don't know how the entire card's going to shake out, but we know what the opener is, or assume we know what the opener is for the event in general. We know what the main events are. So assuming that this isn't going to a main event, night one or night two, which we know that's not going to be the case, knowing the main events, I'm thinking Gunther versus Jey Uso is going to open up the entire show on Saturday. So we'll start there. Yes, we are starting with a World Heavyweight Championship match. Gunther goes in as champion. I would say that Gunther is kind of one of Doug's guys. Is it fair to say that, Doug, that Gunther's kind of one of your guys within the WWE?
So I first waltzed onto Gunther back at a promotion in Germany called WXW in 2017, where they had their yearly tournament called 16 Karat Gold, usually in the March. And in the finals, it was Walter, obviously Gunther, versus Ilya Dragunov, who later ended up having classic matches in NXT UK, in the empty warehouse, which got a 5-star rating from Dave Meltzer and from myself. And then they ended up having a classic takeover match on the last takeover in 2021, the pandemic, right before the current iteration of NXT took place as well. And then I've been in love with the guy ever since. He's lost a lot of weight since then, but the weight's never really hindered him too. He's always been known for, chopping the hell out of people, throwing the stiff power bombs, can do the splashes from the top rope. So pretty much since I laid eyes on the guy, I've always been a fan. And when I went to WrestleMania weekend, I believe it would be 35 in 2019, so the WrestleMania right before the pandemic, I actually got to watch him beat Pete Dunne in the Barclays Center for the WWE United Kingdom Championship, which was an incredible match too. So I'm happy he's finally got this world title reign after not even arguably the best Intercontinental Championship reign of all time. But don't think his world heavyweight title reign is lived up to expectation, to say the least.
Yeah, which, again, that goes back to, it's not necessarily on him, it's the booking. For a long time of it, they just like had this like self-conscious version of Gunther for whatever reason carrying the belt, where it was just like a weird version of him, a weird iteration that we hadn't seen before. And I was kind of curious where we were going to go with it. I really was hoping that we get more of what it seems like we've gotten at the end of this thing the entire time in terms of Gunther's reign, because I feel like the best part of it has been when it seems like maybe we're getting to the end of it. Unfortunately, let's talk about the other side of that, right? Jey Uso, who is certainly looking for redemption after his WrestleMania 40 stinker against his brother last year. One of the matches, not just in WrestleMania history, but in history of pro wrestling. It was a match that happened. And I know he's openly talked about wanting a second shot at that eventually down the road. Don't know if I'm necessarily chomping at the bit to get that. I love Jey Uso. I love Jey Uso for his ability to get over with the crowd and the presence that he brings. His in-ring work is certainly something that it's run of the mill. But in terms of the character, I really can appreciate his ability to get over. Love the entrance, obviously, and everything about the character. And I think, there's comes a time and place to be rewarded for that. He got that short Intercontinental Championship reign that lasted like all of 3 weeks before dropping it back to Braun Breaker. Now he's here in the World Heavyweight Championship picture after surprisingly winning the Royal Rumble. I was in attendance for that at Lucas Oil Stadium. I did not think he was within, one of my 3 or 4 picks that I would have thought was going to win that event. Once he did win, we knew the direction this was going. Another match with Gunther, even though he had just lost to him on Saturday night's main event. So, Doug, how do you see this match going? Do you think that it's the obvious here? I think Jey Uso is like a minus 5,000 favorite on booking sites right now, or do you think maybe they pull a swerve here and Gunther does continue his title reign?
I think it's a mortal lock. Jay's going to win here. I mean, to be quite honest with you, back at the Rumble, which to give people a little context too, I was supposed to go to at the time. Just ended up having some stuff with work got in the way. But I was watching it over a friend's house that night, and I wasn't happy. I knew Cena was going to end up getting in the spot where it was, but was very confused at the time because him and Gunther, they had the match, as you said, on Saturday night's main event. Thought it was very good, about 3.5 star range, but nothing blow away. And then my thought was too is initially they're going to put Jey in a big spot again because, as you already mentioned, him and Jimmy, that match was awful. Me, Smitty, and our friend Ross were actually in attendance for SummerSlam 2023 at Ford Field in Detroit, where he had the with the tribal combat. Is that what it was?
Yeah,
the gimmick was.
Yeah,
awful main event.
Lasted like an hour. Yeah,
and even earlier this year too, the awful match he had with Drew McIntyre on the debut Raw on Netflix. So I had a reason for the hesitancy for seeing him in this spot, and I was just sitting there thinking like, really, this is what we're gonna use Gunther for? But with some of the build along the way, I would definitely say I'm interested in this match, obviously, and I really do hope they do have this open the show, having however many thousands and thousands of people, YEETing and everything. And then
certainly it'll be a feel-good moment.
Feel-good moment of Jey winning the title. It's going to get the crowd off to a hot start. Versus if we're shoving that later in the show and people might be burnt out at that point, it's going to come off a lot better. Yeah. Honestly, the key to success this match too. Jey needs to be willing to have a classic Gunther matches. Gunther needs to chop him to the point where his chest butts open like hamburger meat, stuff like that. And I think this will end up being a great match here. I really hope the blips on the radar in the past of Jey not delivering in big spots doesn't happen up here. Where his title reign goes from here, that's a story for another day. But lay your entire bankroll on Jey Uso winning this one. I would be absolutely stunned if Gunther somehow retained.
Yeah, I'm going with Jey Uso as well. And what I will say is, I was curious because of the amount of time that we had for this build, how they would be able to do it. And I think for a large period of it, it was kind of disappointing to me. But what really got this thing ignited to me was Jimmy Uso's involvement. When Gunther completely laid him out and, Jay's handcuffed, watched him and uses Jimmy's first name, like shoot first name within that as well, where he's just like desperate. And, Gunther's wiping his blood on him. And like that, to me, that segment really kickstarted this and got it really personal. Gunther's promo on Monday Night Raw just last night, the time of recording this, was fantastic as well. But I really thought was like, he's definitely like, if you had any doubt about him losing this match prior to last night's promo, I think that set it in stone. So I thought
that was one of the best promos of Gunther's career last night. I was stunned how good it was. Not that he's ever been bad in the sticks, just definitely got me more invested in this match, that's for sure.
And then, maybe come back to this post WrestleMania to discuss, but you mentioned the reign that Jey could have. I don't think he needs to beat it. Like, a guy to have a very long reign. I think we can kind of like that doesn't always need to be the case under Trips, in my opinion, with these long title reigns. We're going to get into a match later on, the Intercontinental strap, but depending on the way that match goes, I would think about maybe elevating somebody from that picture and immediately going after Jey. But we'll get there when we get there. For now, switching gears a little bit, let's go to the tag division. We're going to look at the World Tag Team Championships here. War Raiders versus New Day. I want your thought on this even being on the card. I know there's a lot of discussion about that with the SmackDown titles, the WWE Tag Team Championships. That tag division has really heated up over on SmackDown. I think carried that show to quite a degree with them going from 2 to 3 hours for something that was missing there for a while. But the Street Profits, the current champions, I thought have really heated up that division. You got like 5 tag teams right now that have kind of all been cooking on SmackDown. Within Raw, the War Raiders win these belts from Judgment Day, and they've kind of just like been there. And I know that New Day, after their heel turn, a lot of people were kind of expecting something big, and maybe that is this. Maybe once they win these straps, we do see the World Tag Team Championships become a prominent fixture on Monday Night Raw, but it hasn't been there for me yet, and kind of surprised that this even got on the card.
And as I saw you mentioned too on your X account, to go to the SmackDown Tag Team titles, pretty disappointed, that we couldn't find a spot for that on the card as well. If you gave the Street Profits and the Machine Guns time on the card, I feel like it'd be great. But yeah, even the New Day in general, since after they did the big heel turn on Big E, I mean, at first everybody was raving about it, and then just another average heel routine. So I don't know. I feel like this will end up being a good match, but like you said, I've always liked the War Raiders. Funny story. I went to a Ring of Honor show at the David Lawrence Convention Center in Pittsburgh in January 2014, where Hanson and Rowe were actually in the finals of a top prospect tournament. Yes, even at 30-something years old, top prospects for Ring of Honor. And they ended up becoming a tag team after that ever since. So,
yeah. No, I think they do fantastic work. I really enjoyed Ivar's little run that he had when Eric was on the shelf, kind of within that like singles meat division, if you will, that was going on Monday Night Raw pre-Netflix era. But yeah, nothing against either of these tag teams. It's really just been about like the booking of the tag division on that show in general. I just don't think has been there. I will say the one thing that I've seen floated out there, and I'm not predicting this, but I wanted to get your thought on is this on the WrestleMania card? Because this is potentially where we see a swerve take place in terms of, I think everybody's just predicting New Day wins the belts here. Do we see Big E potentially get involved and cost them the belts or something? And Big E being there is why we're even getting this on the card.
That thought never even crossed my mind, honestly. If something like that happened, I feel like it would make this a little bit more interesting. Because what do we got the odds after this right now? I have the odds from BetOnline AG. Right now we got New Day favored at -1,000. So it seems like everybody seems to think like I am. They're pretty much a mortal lock to win this. Like you said, the divisions over there is not very exciting. So that would happen and War Raiders retain, and we finally do something after they did the big heel turn on Big E, I'd be all for it.
Yeah, I'm wondering like who even chases after them at that point, because like obviously the Creeds and the Alpha Academy, they're on the heel side too. Would it be the LWO? There's just not many tag teams on Raw in general. So I don't know. Maybe there's somebody that's not in the picture right now. Although maybe we get like the WWE draft, maybe one of those teams we mentioned on SmackDown come back over to Raw. I don't know. I don't know what that tag picture is going to look like, but I do think the New Day are taking the straps here. That there's another title change. So 2 matches, 2 title changes so far. We did go 3 for 3 with the U.S. Championship champion. LA Knight comes in against my guy, Jacob, or as Sarge likes to call him, Jake Fatu, challenging LA Knight for the U.S. title here. Already getting a championship match here at WrestleMania. Very deserved, though, for the work that Jacob Fatu has done. He's kind of been untouchable. They're not doing like if he loses this match, and we'll get your thought on that obviously in a second. You got to feel like some shenanigans took place to get there. LA Knight's not going to be Jacob Fatu clean at his first WrestleMania match here. But what are your thoughts on this in general? What are your thoughts on Fatu even getting this placement here on the card?
I love Jacob Fatu. I've always loved him. Watched most of his work when I first started watching his work years ago in a promotion called MLW, where he was their world champion. Obviously, he's had a lot of run-ins at the law and stuff like that. So, prevented him from getting signed at major spots. But since he's been on the main roster, I mean, he's looked awesome. I mean, ever since he debuted day one, he's outshined anybody in the current iteration of the Bloodline. And was glad he ended up getting this spot too. At one point, I was fearing they were going to do some sort of multi-man match for the United States title, but the fact that it's just him versus LA Knight 1-on-1, makes me happy. I think Fatu is going to win this, but as I was just looking up those betting odds too, it's not that much of a landslide on this.
Okay.
Jacob Fatu right now -400 and LA Knight +250, so it's actually closer than you think. So I really hope they don't try to get cute or do anything, and Solo Sikoa or somebody interfered to cost them.
Well, that's what it is. Yeah, that's what it would be.
I like LA Knight. He had his little run with the title since he won it off Logan Paul, then won it back from Shinsuke Nakamura. I mean, he is what he is. He's good. I mean, he's a hell of a lot better than he was years ago when he was in TNA 8 years ago as their world champion. I know everyone was doing the I couldn't even remember his name. That was my senior year up at Penn State whenever I saw him. He was world champion, but I'm really hoping they don't get cute with it, overthink it. Just have Fatu win. Honestly, I'm not. Hey, if he came out just beat LA Knight in a couple of minutes, effective, semi squash, I'd be really put it over. I'd be fine with that too. But yeah, any booking decision that doesn't result in Jacob Fatu walking out with the gold would be a big mistake in my opinion.
Yeah, I was with your line of thinking this was going to be a multi-man match. I did a way too early WrestleMania predictions. I actually got quite a few of them right. This was one that I had wrong, though. I had it LA Knight versus Andrade versus Carmelo Hayes versus Jimmy Uso for the U.S. title. I thought it was going to be a fatal four-way. So I had to redo that graphic prior to this recording, but that's okay. But yeah, I mean, I fully agree with you. The one thing that I will say about that is what I thought was going to happen. I think the one misstep here with LA Knight was even having to lose the belt to Shinsuke, because if you would have just had the reign from SummerSlam into this point, I don't think that there would even be a conversation about taking the strap off of him. I think the reason it's even a conversation is because this second reign has been so short. He really just won it back from Shinsuke, so is it too early to take it off of him? In my opinion, no. I'm completely fine with taking the strap off of him in this spot, and I think that's the decision that they should do.
I'm only referencing my phone real quick. Don't know how to really screen share here, but Shinsuke Nakamura had the classic match 9 years ago versus Sami Zayn at TakeOver Dallas, 5-star classic. And ever since then, he's turned into this man. As everybody knows, Pittsburgh's Mr. Rogers' own Mr. McFeely, the mailman himself. The only mailman we respect. We don't respect the mailman Karl Malone around here. But yeah, now that title change just seemed like they put it on for no reason. I mean, Shinsuke was, allegedly he has his contract might be up at some point this year, which
well,
I don't want him waltzing back into New Japan. He's gonna put in half effort, but yeah, to go back to this, LA Knight had a solid run with the belt and everything too. Him losing this wouldn't hurt it.
No. All right, moving along. So we both got you got Jacob Fatu. Then that's your prediction as well.
Yep.
Okay. All right. There we go. It's unfortunate, but Chad Gable once again not on the WrestleMania card. A lot of people thought he should have won the Intercontinental strap at WrestleMania 40. That it ended up being Sami Zayn getting that spot. Rey Mysterio taking on El Grande Americano on this card with Chad Gable nowhere in sight. How do we think that this one plays out? I've seen a lot of people say that this is something where, this is going to be a multi-match thing, a feud. So if that's the case, maybe El Grande Americano wins here. And then we get a second match that's a mask versus mask match down the road or something like that. Is that your line of thinking, or does Rey get his win back here? This is the big payoff to what we've been leading up to.
I'd probably say that. What is the odds we got on this one? Oh wow, these must have up there. I must have not just saw it. So betting odds on this one, Rey's favored -145 to El Grande Americano +105. Before I even looked at that, just how I've been watching everything, I figured Americano would finally get his comeuppance because he won the match last week where he put the gimmick in his mask, did the flying headbutt, and got the win. To give the audience a little context too, usually WWE is not my main thing I usually watch. As Tony Khan would say, I'm one of the sickos where I'm usually watching AEW, stuff from New Japan, Mexico, pretty much everywhere. But I've kept up with everything, usually Mania season 2. So I'm making sure I consume everything going on. But yeah, before everything started with this and before he made his debut even on SmackDown, I thought the whole separate person. Unfortunately, he's not on the card. Chad Gable mentioning luchadors was going to lead to a Chad Gable versus a debuting Phoenix. Is what
yeah.
I was hoping for fantasy booking in advance, but I think this will end up being, pretty good match wise. I hope it gets the proper time it deserves. I'll say Ray. Maybe he could win on a wheelbarrow pin or Hurricane Rana pin, something like that, and then we can have this feud continue. Or you could have El Grande Americano get some sort of cheap win. Do the classic. Takes Ray's mask off and throws him in the ankle lock, so that way Ray wants to do a quick tap out, so he's not showing the audience's face, even though we all know what he looks like already if you're a WCW fan. But yeah, just hoping these guys get a lot of time. 10, 12 minutes, something like that. Balls to the wall action. I'll be honestly happy with either winner.
Yeah, I think in ring this is going to be really good. Like I know a lot of people, saying that this probably shouldn't even be on the card when you look at what isn't on the card and could have been in place of this. But like Rey Mysterio obviously still carries like that household name amongst wrestling fans. So like on WrestleMania, he's going to be on the card. This is a story that they're telling right now. I kind of like the idea of this carrying on a little bit longer. So while I could certainly see it going either way, I'm going to go El Grande Americano wins this one. So we get that mask versus mask match down the line, take the mask off, and to everybody's shock, it actually is Chad Gable under that mask when Rey Mysterio reveals him. So that's the direction that I'm going to go. Sticking along here, this is the last title match that we have on the night. I probably should have switched these two, but we're going to go with this one first. WWE Women's Championship match, TIffany Stratton taking on the winner of the Women's Royal Rumble, Charlotte Flair. Another feud that I will say for a while, I think needed some steam added to it. And we certainly got that when they went off script on SmackDown a couple weeks ago and started taking personal shots at each other. I'll be honest, this is one that I'm worried about. I know Tiffany's title run has not been great up until this point, but it's again where I feel like what's happened over the last couple weeks is exactly what we needed to have happened earlier on. Was Charlotte the opponent that she needed to really get this title run going? Potentially. I just feel like if you take the belt off of her right now, maybe she is better chasing it. Maybe that's the idea, is she ends up winning it back from Charlotte or whatever. But I really feel like the utilization of Charlotte Flair coming back here should be to put Tiffany over in this big spot. But my concern is that she's going to win this championship and have her big return moment at WrestleMania after not being able to be a part of last year's WrestleMania.
I could see this one going either way. Honestly, odds are pretty dead even on this. Tiffany's slightly favored, which I think Charlotte was favored for the most part in this. I had to even look this pull up on Cage Match. Now, I honestly, gun in my head, I couldn't have told you how many what her last title defenses was. She beat It's Bayley on SmackDown in January, and then she had a match where she beat Nia Jax by DQ back in February. So that feels like an eternity to go at this point. I think I'm more so worried, how's the match going to end up turning out too? Charlotte didn't look great at all in the Women's Royal Rumble.
Nope.
In my opinion.
Nope.
And I love Tiffany, but she's not exactly Manami Toyota here. So, I think she'll get a good match out of Charlotte, but I'm not going in with expectations of we're going to get a great of a match as we had with Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing is,
that was awesome.
I agree. I thought, it's like a show-stealing type match, although WrestleMania 39 also had that awesome triple threat for the IC strap with Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew McIntyre. So some heavy competition. But in terms of Charlotte, I fully agree. I'm sitting there live at Lucas Oil watching her perform, and I'm just like, man, I mean, that knee, obviously. I guess the thing is, with more reps, is she going to work that rust off and she'll get back, or is she cooked in the ring because of the injury and we're not going to be able to see her get back to that level? That second one is very concerning because this is really going to reveal, in my opinion, which one of those two we're going to get an answer in this match. And if that's the case, as much respect as I have for Tiffany, I thought when she was coming up from NXT was one of my favorites. And I think that she can definitely get a good match out of this, but living up to this, as a women's championship match on the grandest stage of them all, when you got that triple threat on the other side of things the next day, and also probably after this match on the same night from a men's perspective, yeah, a lot of concern for me in terms of the in-ring product that we're going to get here. And not only that, like if Charlotte wins the title and she looks cooked in the ring, now she's going to have a title reign with this thing as well. So I don't know, but honestly, that's I'm predicting Charlotte Flair to win this. Unfortunately, I would have her put Tiffany over in this spot. But I think that this is the direction that they want to go. And I'm not saying it's going to be a long title run, but I really think that this whole thing with Charlotte has been about really inflating that number more than anything else, continuing to add to the number of reigns, not necessarily the length.
Don't mind me here. I'm doing my classic Mike Francesa. I'm trying to even count like how many damn title reigns does she have? Because I know they're still probably trying to have her get towards Rick's 16.
Yeah, I believe she's at 14 or 15 right now.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, we'll have to edit that in post. But yeah, that'll if they're trying to push with that, I mean, like I said, it comes down to the match thing, and they obviously would pivot back to a rematch if she does win at some point. So I don't know, man. I'll be different and say Tiffany, but somehow Tiffany will win. This will lead to another rematch with them down the line, and maybe Charlotte will get it there. I don't know. I'm just hoping we stay on the tracks here. I think I think
this would be so. I got Google here opened up. This would be her 16th if she wins, Charlotte.
Okay.
So
cage match, everything else, but it couldn't give me the total of that.
Yeah, so she's looking to win her 16th.
If this is 16, damn. If this is going to be 16, then from what you said, then I don't know what bigger spot there is to do it at WrestleMania. Then so
right. Mm-hmm.
I'll because you're saying that, I'll probably go with you. Then I'll say Charlotte. But then this is going to end up more or less leading to Tiffany getting the belt back at some point.
I would hope so. And there probably is some credence to her being better chasing the belt. I don't know. Like, especially with the story that they're telling, maybe that's the case, but I don't know. In terms of feuds that have really heated up, a lot of animosity, a lot of hate here. And honestly, in terms of like a build perspective, one of the better ones that they got going, that's Naomi and Jade Cargill here. Naomi turns out being the one to take out Jade Cargill, like from a elimination chamber for like a BPLE, as they call them, not one of like the big four major ones. What an event that ended up being, not only because that's where John Cena turned, Jade Cargill also returns right at the beginning of the show and takes out Naomi. I thought it was really cool. Also with like the subtleness of Bianca and Naomi being in white, and then Jade comes out in black, the inverse of that, and then attacks Naomi. And they've kind of been telling that the entire time. Naomi really doing really good work as a heel, in my opinion, too. I think that there was some skepticism in terms of what that would look like, but I've enjoyed the run that she's had as a heel. From Jade Cargill's perspective, I think still from like an in-ring perspective, still relatively green. I think from a match perspective with Naomi and the way that they're going to look here and the chemistry that they could have, I think they'll get a good match out of each other. I don't think this is like a show stealing type match. To me, this one's more about the story than it is the in-ring product. I don't think that they're going to have Jade Cargill, drop a singles match this early in her tenure here. So I got Jade Cargill winning this one.
I think Jade's going to win this. How short this is going to be is up for debate.
Okay.
I will say here, in my opinion, this is a big sink or swim moment for Jade. Sure. They have not really put her in many spots to flat out have her like, hey, here you go, show us what you can do. And to be fair, there really wasn't that many times where she did that in AEW too. That's why whenever she did leave, in her final match, she put over Chris Statlander, which ended up being her best match in the company. But otherwise, when she had that long initial TBS title reign, a lot of the matches were disappointing when she did get in with bigger opponents, or she was just flat out squashing people. So, like I said, there's been ample opportunities even back then where they could have had her on house shows, gradually improve. I mean, obviously the presence is there and everything too. It's just really how's this going to be in a big spot too. And as you probably even know too, just some of the backstage, she has backstage heat with some of the other women in the locker room as well. Don't exactly like her, think she's a too great or organized in the ring, stuff like that. But this is another one of those mortal locks too. I can't see Jade losing here, and I think it's probably be under 10 minutes in my opinion. Just hate and heat. Jade gets her win. She'll probably
Mhm.
have a hell of an entrance, if I had to guess.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to have those spots in the card that are going to be a little bit less in terms of time consuming. And again, like when you're talking about the entrance that we're expecting, I think that's going to be a good portion of the card that they're allotting time to this match for. In terms of grand entrances, I assume that we will see that from the main event on night 1, 2, and this one very much not chalk, in my opinion. I've gone every different direction with this. This is Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins versus CM Punk to close out night 1. CM Punk with his not wise man, just best friend, Paul Heyman, accompanying him to the ring, not as Roman Reigns' wise man. Been telling this story for a bit. I'll be honest, this certainly has the star power and the way that they've been building it to main event night 1. That being said, this is not something that I was originally looking forward to. I did not want this as a triple threat match. I wanted these stories all being told in singles matches. Didn't know why we needed a triple threat to do that and tell this story. Maybe there's something because we're doing more than giving predictions here. Also talked about the different ways that this could go. Maybe there's more to the Paul Heyman aspect of this than just this match itself. There's a lot of Roman Reigns pulling him one direction, CM Punk pulling him one direction. I sent this text. Literally, I will pull up the screenshot. Over 2 weeks ago, I said it's going to be cinema when Paul Heyman ends up siding with Seth Rollins and swerves everybody.
I was just going to say, I've seen people throwing that out on X as a possible double swerve.
I don't know what that looks like, but I wanted to get your thought on that and just obviously this match in general. I know that you, from our text exchange, very much are not necessarily looking forward to the Paul Heyman inclusion and how featured he could be within this triple threat.
So one thing I'll get off, the match quality wise, yeah. I think this match as a ceiling could end up being great. We're talking 4.5. I could see this match under delivering and really getting drugged down with whatever Paul Heyman BS involvement too. Another thing that involves me too in this build too, and this is what doesn't make any damn sense to me. So CM Punk has this favor in his back pocket from being in the War Games match, this and that. You think, okay, maybe he'll try to get, Paul could get him a title shot or something or this and that.
Yeah.
The favor ends up him being in his damn corner. That's so fucking stupid. I'm sorry. I had to laugh at some point. I don't. And then a quote Rollins said last night had me fuming. It made any sense. I'll read it here. It says, Rollins claimed that it's the biggest and most important triple threat match in the history of this business because the winner will define the future of this industry. You want to guess the age of the participants in this match? The average age? Go ahead. Seriously, go ahead. Live on the air. What's the average age between these three guys?
I'm gonna say 41.
Yeah, it's 41 on the dot.
There we go.
So 41 future. Don't even get me started on him too. Whatever goofy ass outfit he's gonna walk in there. Muppet laugh. Like I said, whatever they want to do with Heyman, I'll be fine with they had to do the double thing. Just don't let it drag the match down too. The less community theater, the better. Honestly, I would have loved going in with stakes too. Is between all of the guys, they all want to get back to the top, and somehow, some way, this could have been to hey, whoever wins this match is the number one contender for the undisputed WWE Championship.
Mm-hmm. I thought that's what was going to happen during the contract signing when CM Punk was going through looking for something. I thought it was going to be that he wanted it included in there that this was a number one contenders match. But
because of how everything's lining up, if that wasn't the case, and then versus who I potentially might think might end up winning the main event on night 2, my nostalgia might end up coming back for one of the best matches in company history if they would decide to run that back. But
all right, well, there you go. I think you might have just leaked who you got here then, but your prediction for the way that this thing goes down.
I'm going to go CM Punk as I'm looking, referencing the good old Bet Online AG, no free ads. CM Punk and Seth Rollins are both even at 110, minus 110, and Roman at 285. So if Rollins ends up winning, it's because of the double turn stuff like that, and then maybe this does lead to another match with him and Punk. I mean, their match on the debut Netflix show was good. Nothing to write home about. Some others might have liked it more than I did. But I hope Punk wins this. I think that opens a lot of possibilities if he wins, and then could potentially challenge Cody or Cena down the line, whichever one would come out of there. I think now that he stays fully healthy this year, I think at some point before the end of this year, CM Punk does need to be getting a title shot at a major PLE, in my opinion.
So I'm looking back at this on March 30th. I texted our friend Sarge and said the scenes when Paul Heyman turns on both and aligns with Seth. So for that reason, I feel like because I'm the one that pitched this before the internet wrestling community even came up with the idea of this happening, even if I felt like this really wasn't going to happen, I got to stay true to my guns. I'm picking Seth Rollins to win this triple threat match, which I would have thought, like, before that, this isn't, even when I said that was going to happen, did I really believe it? No, but like, it's gained some steam now, so I'm rolling with it. And I'm not, so it's funny that like Roman Reigns, you said Roman Reigns is the only, he's like, what, plus 285 or something you said?
I'd be stunned if he would win it. That's boring. It doesn't make much sense to me. Like, even obviously I'm rooting for Punk from what makes sense, booking wise and as a fan. But the Seth thing, like I said, if they with Heyman, it'd be something different. Mm-hmm. Did Rollins ever say what his actual favor was? From when he almost
no, and why does he get a favor just for not stop? Like, is that how you just get a favor every time that you don't hit Paul Heyman? Like, what? I mean, I'm about to show up at Allegiant Stadium and act like I'm going to hit Paul Heyman and then get a favor out of it.
Heyman's so hilarious too. He just babbles in the corner like Oswald Cobblepot from time to time. I was gonna say, if Seth didn't call his favor too, he should say, "Hey, Paul, my favor is you finally got to pay everybody you owe money to after ECW folded."
All of a sudden, the ECW originals show up at Allegiant Stadium, and it's a completely different show. All right, so that wraps up night one. Night two, what I expect is going to kick off. If they're not main event, they got to kick off. It's for the Women's World Championship here. Iyo Sky, Bianca Belair, and Rhea Ripley in a triple threat match here. This was interesting how we got here because I did not see a title change taking place on the road to this. What I thought was going to happen, the triple threat I could foresee happening. What I thought it was going to be was following the Elimination Chamber where Bianca Belair won. We knew Iyo Sky was going to have a championship match the following night or 2 nights. I thought what was going to happen was Liv Morgan getting involved because she was so upset about not winning that like another DQ BS finish happens. Rhea and then Iyo ends up getting added to the triple threat because of that, not really getting her match. We get a title change with Iyo Sky winning the belt, and then Rhea Ripley just gets added because, they decide win and win not. The champion actually gets a rematch. It seems like now in the company, there's no actual like clause for a rematch. It's just like every once in a while, you know what, we'll bring it up. Maybe they'll get a rematch. But anyways, this from an in-ring perspective, maybe the match that I'm looking forward to the most. I think this is going to be awesome. Iyo Sky is one of my favorite overall performers in the company right now. So I'm looking forward to this for sure. Just like, I'm curious how it goes down, and I can't wait to get your thoughts in terms of who's actually coming out of this with the belt. I would think, because you got the betting odds there, I would think Iyo heavy underdog, but
let's refresh this. This is about what I'm lining up. So Bianca's favored at 120, which did the
undefeated WrestleMania.
That's my prediction. I don't even remember the last time she had the belt. Oh, she lost it when we were at SummerSlam. Did the Iyo did the cat
to Iyo?
Yeah, Bianca beat Asuka. Then Iyo did the cash-in gimmick.
That was also a triple threat. Charlotte Flair involved in that match, and then
oh yeah, my mind kind of wandered off of that show after everything I wanted to see delivered.
My goodness, that you don't remember that Ronda Rousey Shayna Baszler MMA style fight? When they do the shoot MMA stuff, it's always so terrible. But anyway.
But yeah, we got Bianca at minus 120, Iyo at plus 120, and then Rhea at plus 225. I could only see, I'm not saying Bianca's a lock. I could see Iyo possibly. There's a scenario maybe Bianca hits the KOD on Rhea. Iyo hits her, moonsaults, and then Bianca would roll out by the effect of that, and then Iyo would retain that way. And then Bianca might win it in a singles match down the line, but I think she should just end up winning it here. But I think this could end up being a match of the weekend for everything under the WWE banner, and honestly, everything going on in WrestleMania weekend too. Just because big fan of all three of these ladies. I feel like they're gonna definitely want to go out and steal the show. As you said, just like we feel that it's gonna be a hot start to have Gunther and Jey Uso open the show night one. I think putting this as the opener on night two is a no-brainer, especially since obviously Cody and Cena are gonna main event.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So yeah, I'm gonna go Bianca Belair as well. She hasn't lost at WrestleMania. I don't think that they're gonna have her lose now. Early prediction for WrestleMania 42 is we get a singles match between Bianca and Rhea Ripley. 1 year out, we'll see if that's correct for then. But yeah, I got Bianca. I guess the most intriguing part about this to me is like how they operate in terms of like who's working face, who's working heel, and do we finally get a Bianca heel turn? In your mind, is that even possible to do a Bianca heel turn? Because she's got some of that like Cena to her, where she's like so involved outside of the business and like way too personable and way too likable that they could even do it.
I don't know. I didn't really think of that aspect of it, because theoretically, if she would be a heel after this, I don't know who's going to move where in the draft and all that. That's where I'm really out of it at that point. Maybe you'd have a face Jade move over to Raw, and those two could feud or something like that. If they were moving something like that, it's thinking way too far out though. But yeah, I'd be kind of shocked if Bianca didn't win this one. I feel like it'd be great match open the show, great moment, her holding up the gold again.
Yeah, so all right, we're on the same page there. This one we don't know exactly. Randy Orton going against TBD. Man,
totally forgot this was even happening because they didn't have it on the sheet on Cage Match.
Yeah, what a bummer with Kevin Owens not being able to I say participate in this WrestleMania, but we'll see what the future outlook of him is in general. But yeah, Randy Orton going against, I don't know, they teased the Nick Aldis thing, and then they also teased the Solo Sikoa stuff. First off, who's your prediction in terms of who's actually going to face Randy Orton here? Is it one of those two or somebody completely different? And then, like, I don't know, is there a chance that whoever it is actually beats Randy Orton? Because I just think Randy Orton wins this one, sets him up for a big match, really, at the Backlash that takes place in St. Louis the following month.
So I don't know how this would work out time-wise, or even if you kept up with this too, but Jeff Cobb just finished up with New Japan. Mm-hmm. He's going to be having his last match at the company. I don't know how this will be happening 5 a.m. our time on Saturday. He'll be wrestling Hiroshi Tanahashi in his final match.
Okay.
I think it could be possible. And they pulled him from the rest of the tour. He was originally supposed to be challenging Hiroki Goto on their main Wrestling Dontaku show on May 4th. Pulled him from that tour. He's having the last match early. I don't know how the time difference would work out with him getting, but that could be a possible option in the end. You could even have Rusev coming back. Mal Black. I don't know what the terms are of his.
Well, they've been doing the vignettes for him. But I don't think like this is the spot that you'd put him at. You got to feel like whoever it is, right, is probably like. Do you feel like Randy's beating whoever it is anyway? So like whoever you're bringing in,
I think he should win whoever it would end up being.
So like who can take a pin in this match is really my question. No doubt it could be Solo. I don't think anything changes for him status wise with a win or a loss really in this spot. Nick Aldis, it wouldn't matter if he loses. He's obviously going right back into his general manager role. So I don't know. I'm gonna say I don't necessarily want this. I think it's going to be Solo. I'd honestly rather see Nick Aldis just because it's something different. It wasn't that long ago that we got Randy Orton versus Solo on Fox for SmackDown. So I don't know. No interest in me seeing that. I get the predicament that they were put in with the Kevin Owens injury, but I'm just not interested in seeing Randy Orton versus Solo.
I hope it is Solo, man. As soon as that man's music comes, I'm gonna be hitting the bricks and running straight to the bathroom.
You need, I guess, a placeholder. You need something like that.
I'm not a robot. I gotta,
Yeah.
I like to lock in and watch everything, but I gotta carve in time. Just like last year, whenever they did the Philadelphia street fight with what was the
Mm.
Geeks crew? Carrying crosses. This is how you
And
know I didn't
AOP.
care. Yeah, them.
Yeah.
Like as soon as that
Final
match
Testament.
happened, oh dude, I couldn't run for the bathroom quicker.
It was actually probably more entertaining. That match would have liked to have been home for because Snoop Dogg on commentary just made it stoop like ridiculous. I went back and watched it, and it's just insane, the commentary that he was providing. But anyways, you mentioned so wait, Randy Orton here, right? I'm assuming.
I'll just say it'll end up being Aldis. Give him a nice WrestleMania. Say he wrestled on a WrestleMania. They'll have a basic match. Maybe they'll shake hands afterwards, and then Randy Orton will be challenging for the title in St. Louis versus whoever wins the main event.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned having a piss break during last year's street fight. I wouldn't do that this year. When Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre lock up for a Sin City street fight. Again, another one where like I fully understand the criticism in terms of even making this a match to begin with the year that Drew McIntyre just had and feeling like this was potentially a little bit of a step down for him. But these two have just been like beating the hell out of each other every time that they see each other. I really enjoy this like on-site perspective of what they're doing. So what is your anticipation level for this match? Are you excited for it, and how do you think it's going to play out?
I'll say 6.5, 7 out of 10. I mean, it's two big dudes. They're gonna, want to go out there and kick ass and everything too. I mean, look, everybody can't be in the top of the card every year.
Yeah.
It just is how it is. I mean, you take what you're given. He'll get a win, and then, well, here's my prediction. I think Drew's a lock to win this, but then he could challenge at some point this year. But out of the different segments we have too, and Drew legitimately getting a piece of glass in his eye. I think these two guys are going to win out and steal the show here. And my expectations for this, probably I could see it being around 3.5 star range. So like very good, 1 over, say it's welcome.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one, to be honest with you. I think a big part of it is just because it's just going to be, it's going to be a fight. Like, it's not even going to be like a wrestling match. Don't know how it's going to end, but I know how it's going to end in terms of Drew McIntyre winning. Like, zero thought about him losing this match in my mind. I wouldn't be surprised if he just goes on like an insane winning streak for the rest of the year from this point on, just based off kind of like this character development that we've had from 2024 into 2025. And, depending on, we're going to talk about obviously the championship match to close this whole thing out with Cena and Cody, but depending on how that goes, I think Drew McIntyre could be in that title scene, almost immediately in terms of being a challenger. And I think that we do see gold. We do see gold on him again in 2025, in my opinion. So yeah, Drew McIntyre here across the board. This one, Intercontinental Championship, Braun Breaker coming in as champion, defending against Penta, Finn Balor, and Dom Mysterio. Again, one that I'm really looking forward to. I love Braun Breaker so much, and just like the car crash element that he provides to every single match that he's involved in. That video of his spear on Carlito 2 weeks ago, I watch it at least once a day, just for enjoyment. So really enjoyed that. Penta since his debut has been awesome. Loved him in AEW. You mentioned his brother earlier, Ray Phoenix. Finn Balor, I'm still like waiting for that like moment for him on the main roster that hasn't happened in like 4 years, and a lot of people were calling for him to be the world heavyweight champion and be the one to dethrone Seth Rollins for a period of time. And then it's really interesting because he's got his tag team partner, one of them in Dom Mysterio, part of the group in this match as well. So Braun Breaker comes in as champion. In your mind, does he leave as champion?
I don't think so. And the funny you mentioned that spear and Carlito, and this is record analysis here, people, what you're getting. And my first thought whenever I saw that spear, and then a week later, that looked like whenever Joey Bart and Andy Rodriguez collided at home plate in that Wednesday game against the Reds.
Yeah. Oh, brother. For anybody that watches this channel and is also a Pirates fan, first off, I'm sorry that you deal with that. But yeah.
But yeah, no, Braun, even since he's come up in NXT, I never thought he was bad or anything, just basic. He's really starting to put it all together now, too. The match quality's there. Charisma hops off the charts. I think this is a case, too, as I always like to say in wrestling, of losing upward, where He's not walking out with the belt. He's not gonna be the one eating the pin though. Right now, betting odds wise, Dom's actually the favorite to win -250, which
okay.
I don't
and then
know.
him and Finn get into a program for it right after.
Yeah, Finn's actually the dead last towards +900. We got Braun at +300, and we got Penta at +250.
Okay. See, the way that I was thinking about, like, if I, give me the pencil and I'm booking this, was Dom or Finn. It doesn't really matter which one costs the other. It ends up being Penta to get the pin. Penta wins the strap here. Braun Breaker goes up. This is why I said I want to say this for later. Breaker ended up going into the world title picture to face Jey Uso after like being the guy to take the Intercontinental Championship off him. Now he's trying to do the same for the world heavyweight. And then obviously leaves Finn Balor and Dom to have their feud with each other because they cost each other in this match. But I don't necessarily think that's the way it's going to play out. But like, I really like the idea of just like giving Penta this belt and having everybody else go their separate directions.
I'm gonna go ahead and pick Penta. I'm gonna pick against the odds. I've always been a fan of his. I actually saw him at a indie promotion in Cleveland back in 2016 called AIW. Whenever I was going to Penn State area, would drive down. So it's cool seeing a guy, you got to get a picture with in literally a church gymnasium, and on the card and hopefully end up for a singles title in WWE.
Yeah. No, I mean that. Like I said, that's the direction that I would like to see them go. I'm going to go with the betting odds here and say it's actually Dom Mysterio that's going to win this one. And then him and Finn Balor enter a program for the title following that. So I think that we see like that. I think we see the Judgment Day not like implode, because I think you're still going to see like Liv and Raquel be part of it with Carlito and Dom, but Finn Balor's exodus from Judgment Day take place here on this card. So I think the important thing is going to be like, where do you place a moment like that within the card? Is it because it's not going to open? Obviously, it's not closing. Is it somewhere in the middle? Is it right before the main event? How do you place it on the card? But yeah, I think Dom Mysterio walks away with the title here, winning his first. He is a former NXT North American champion, but his first singles on the main roster.
We'll see what he can do with it too. He's fine in the role he is. I've seen my cat popped up too.
I know that he's a popular pick. Again, this is another like video that we can make down the road here, but I know he's a popular pick for Mr. Money in the Bank this year. What's your thought on that?
When the hell's that pay? When's that to pay-per-view taking
July.
place? See, dude, this is how out of the wait. Is this they doing that one overseas again?
It actually hasn't been announced. I don't think where the location is for it this year. I'm assuming that's probably coming like within the next couple weeks.
Dude, I hate anything with the stupid ass briefcase, especially even going back to AEW and the Christian thing. I mean, it's WWE's thing, which I'm just numb to it at this point. I mean, when I first started watching wrestling in May 2008, so seeing a month later when CM Punk cashed in on Edge, when I literally just first started watching, I was into that just because it's like, wow, what's going on here? But now, we'll see. Did you know at one point I wasn't crafty enough to come up with this nickname? I saw somebody on Twitter years ago. They called Dominic Mysterio Hispanic David Flair.
Hispanic David Flair. Well, I think Hispanic David Flair is going to win his first singles title on the main roster on Sunday. So, but I think, just from like an in-ring perspective, this is going to be another one of those really good. Like if you're looking at Saturday's card compared to Sunday's, to me, Sunday has a lot more show-stealing potential matches than Saturday does, but we'll see if that shakes out that way. Second to last match that we got here, and man, I don't want to say just like randomly thrown together, but this really feels like, hey, we got to make sure like Liv Morgan should absolutely be in this card for the work that she's done. You got to have Bayley on the card. How can we make that happen? Well, we're getting a women's tag team championship match here. Liv Morgan and Raquel defending against Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. So not only is the women's US championship not on the show being defended, neither is the Intercontinental because she's in a tag match with Bayley here. This really just feels to me like this is a tag match set up for there to be some tension between Bayley and Lyra so that then they can go into a singles program for the Intercontinental title. That's just the way that I'm viewing this right now. I don't see a world where they come out of this champions over Liv Morgan and Raquel, but what's your thought?
It feels very thrown together. Bayley and Lyra, they actually had that women's IC title match on Raw. I think it was 2 weeks ago. pretty good.
Mhm.
I think about like 3.5 on it, stuff like that. I think about like 3.5 on it, stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's gonna be good. Liv, she's never been bad or anything, too. I know some people love her work. I think she's fine for what she is. Same thing with Raquel too. I mean, she would have pretty good matches with Iyo Sky, years ago in the pandemic in NXT. Whenever she'd have somebody in there better than her. So I think this will be fine. It won't overstay its welcome. There's too many damn titles on this roster, man. I mean, like you even could have
Yeah.
you could have like put a gun to my head and said, "Who's the women's U.S. champion?" I would have forgot.
Yeah, I mean Chelsea Green, very entertaining character, but there's like nothing going on in that scene on SmackDown right now. Like that's why I mentioned about the tag titles the way that I did, because it's just like she defended it against Meechin like 3 times, won every single time, and then like Zelina Vega's kind of in that picture, but like there's just not much going on with that title. On this side, Lyra's defended it a ton, but hasn't gotten into like any actual stories. Like that's why I feel like okay, now
Did you
Bayley. I
hear
know
her
they had a match.
reaction at the Rumble? I mean, you were there. You could have heard a pin
Yeah.
drop.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like I don't think a lot. Like she's very good in the ring. I just think that there's a lot of storylines that aren't being invested into. That I think my pitch for this is again when I did my way too early predictions and I was hoping that she would be a part of the WrestleMania picture was for Becky Lynch to come back and have a program with Lyra for the IC belt, because I feel like having Becky Lynch be involved is a way to elevate the status of that title immediately, which we didn't obviously get. Maybe, okay, so now insert Bayley, another one of the 4 horsewomen, maybe her getting that belt would be a way to elevate that title and make it something worth going after, because for as good as Lyra is, it's just, in my opinion, it has not seemed like a prize worth going after up to this point.
That would have been awesome if they would have ended up doing that. But
Yeah.
Got what we got.
Not what we got, and we'll see when it is we do get Becky Lynch back in the picture. All right, now for the granddaddy of them all, at the granddaddy of them all.
Not to cut you. You're forgetting
good.
one too. You're forgetting AJ Styles versus Logan Paul.
Oh,
I heard you say second to last, and I was like, hey, I think we're forgetting.
You know why?
Forgetting the sleeper match.
Yeah, well, the reason for that I didn't have that on here was because I forgot to carry the overlay over with that. Did I even? Yes, I do have it. Yeah, so 1 second, I can pull that up. All right, well, again, this is another one from like an in-ring perspective, should be very good. AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. I am not, and again, you can see based off of me still having that Zachary Smith PGH above Doug there, this was one that I made early. I predicted that this was going to happen, even though I didn't necessarily want it to happen. AJ Styles, one of my favorite all-time competitors, regardless of promotion that he's been in, was so happy when he made the jump over to WWE, and an actual non like WWE homegrown guy that Vince actually put the title on, which was nice to see. Going against Logan Paul in what's probably his like second to last WrestleMania. We could have a debate about how we feel about that, but like from an in-ring perspective, I feel like this should be pretty damn good. So like I'm excited about that aspect of it. It's hard for me to buy into the story all that much and look forward to this other than for any other reason, to saying like, oh, it'll probably be a good match.
That's kind of like how I was looking at it too. I mean, as you know already, and just me being a casual WWE watcher and then popping in for great matches, must-see stories like that. I've always been a Logan Paul fan. You can think whatever you want of him outside of the ring, but the dude's just got it from day one, ever since he's been in the ring. The one thing I did get annoyed with him for a while is he was doing the same repetitive brass knuck story, this and that. But pretty much even last year, being in attendance for the triple threat match versus Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, I thought that match was great.
He had a really good singles match with Ricochet at the SummerSlam that you alluded to earlier.
I was happy. I wish he could have ended up defending the U.S. title more than he had. And I think he only rung off 3 total defenses, something like that, and including the one where he dropped it to LA Knight at SummerSlam last year. But I guess I could see this match ceiling being great, potentially sleeper match of the night. I don't think it will be. I still think the women's triple threat match is going to be the best match of the night, and then pretty much whatever condition AJ Styles body is going to be in too. I feel like he's going to be good to go here too. He's going to be wanting to fly around the ring. I feel like Logan Paul's going to take a hell of a bump on a phenomenal forearm at some point.
Yeah, yeah. But like I said, to me, AJ Styles has this WrestleMania and next WrestleMania if he is going to retire before he turns 50. So I don't think he's going to drop a match here to Logan Paul. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm predicting AJ Styles wins here, and we'll see where he goes from there. I don't know. I would love to see him back into like a world title picture, but I almost feel like maybe he's part of the IC picture. Assuming that he stays on Raw and the IC belt stays on Raw. Maybe he's a part of that as opposed to the big belt.
So I don't know if you know this or not. His contract's alleged. They're being hush about it because of injury time and this and that. But I saw a rumor floating around too, and my guys over at the Voices of Wrestling were saying too that they've heard stuff that his contract might be up. It's sometime in spring this year.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he would want to.
I had seen that. He talked about with Chris Van Vliet, who does really good interviews on YouTube. But I just assume because like you're talking about one more year of wrestling in general, like is he gonna go somewhere else just for 1 year? I mean, potentially. I just feel like he just signs, another 1 year contract and just finishes up with WWE, culminating, maybe right after. Maybe WrestleMania 42 is literally the last event that he works. It's hard for me to see him signing elsewhere for 1 year, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think I'm going to go the opposite of you. I mean, and it's going along with the betting odds. Okay. I'm going to take Logan Paul here just because I don't know what he could do post WrestleMania and when his next big appearance is going to be. Mm-hmm. If I were,
he'll probably be in the Money in the Bank. Not win it, but he'll probably be in it.
Honestly, even if it's like a major, you're bringing him for a big Raw or something, I minimum he needs to be wrestling in the ring once a month. Like I just think he's that good. Love watching his work. He hasn't had it bad. I mean, I've seen some people not like the match. I liked it still. The match with Rey, the Saudi show where he won the U.S. title with the belt. Yeah. Some people didn't like that. I thought it was fine. And I mean, his quote unquote worst match was the title match with U.S. title match with Owens at the Rumble, where he did the Eddie Guerrero thing and Owens ended up getting DQ'd. But yeah, no, he's never had a stinker. But yeah, I'll go opposite. You'll say Logan Paul win just because it could be something creative and whatever would be going on with AJ Styles, contract thing if that's a rumor. Yeah, but then again, too, it's a toss-up too because Logan Paul did get the upper hand on AJ and drop him with the finisher on the Go Home Raw. So
yeah,
you know how that logic always works.
All right, yeah. So all right, I was wrong before, but now the granddaddy of all granddaddies, the main event of WrestleMania 41 Night 2. John Cena versus champion Cody Rhodes. Very funny to me that John Cena loses the Royal Rumble, which they bill as like the way to main event WrestleMania, but John Cena is still main eventing WrestleMania. Funny how that works. But anyways, Cody Rhodes against John Cena, who turned heel at the Elimination Chamber. Talked about that briefly, obviously, before, but we haven't seen, like, we've seen John Cena and Cody Rhodes have three, promos style things against Raw. We haven't gotten to the Go Home SmackDown yet, where John Cena will be there one night before WrestleMania kicks off. But we haven't seen them get complete, like a lot, like Cody hit the crossroads on John Cena once on the one Raw, but that's been it. Like, I know a lot of people were expecting him to just like immediately get in the ring and attack John because of the way the beating that he took at the Elimination Chamber. That didn't happen. And we haven't seen The Rock or, I guess for that matter, Travis Scott back in the picture since the Elimination Chamber. We'll see if they are make their picture or make appearance at WrestleMania 41. But anyways, Cody Rhodes, John Cena. How do we see this one playing out?
So for a while, even taking odds into account, I was thinking, Cody will win, and they'll just do a thing where Cena's coming in doing the heel run, and then they'll do a handshake after the match too. But as has been going on, Cena's actually the favorite going into this.
Mm-hmm.
Cody's title reign, he's had a couple great matches, but overall, it's been a good reign, but nothing like to write home about in my opinion. So definitely could use some more juice. There's a lot of matches he's had where seems like the hardcore WWE fans have liked it a lot more than I did. Even his recent match versus KO at the Royal Rumble in the ladder match.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people saying, this is like this is classic ladder match, this and that. Maybe it's just I'm tired of ladder matches. I thought it was just shy of being great for me, stuff like that. Even the match he had in KO versus the first Saturday night's main event was kind of disappointing. But I think him and John Cena are going to have a great match here. I could end up seeing this be the best match of the night. I mean, this is definitely the reason I'm buying a ticket. Like, even if there, money would have stopped me at this point from going to both nights, but say, hey, Doug, you got to pay $500 to get in the building. Which night are you picking? I'm picking this night on the surface of that match. I mean, you're going to want to be in Allegiant Stadium for that one. The place is going to be rocking. I mean, Al Davis is going to be right next to me, rooting on Cody for this one. But
yeah, I guess for me, go ahead.
I think Cena will end up winning this one. Question is too, what's Dwayne going to end up doing in this one? Because he's been a ghost this entire build. Cena has barely even mentioned him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the big thing, is like what the involvement is going to be, what exactly that looks like when he does get involved, because like you feel like he's got to be, right? Like, I mean, why even go through this whole thing if The Rock wasn't going to be involved at WrestleMania 41? Big match, John. I got him coming out of this as the winner as well. I start to think about the two paths for the guys if they win or lose, and I'm just like, if Cena loses this, what happened? Like, if he would have stayed a face, I understand the path, like, if he loses, but like this heel turn, to me, to make sense, I feel like he has to win the title here. Like, I don't know what it was all for if he loses here in the direction that they go. And then Cody gets back on like the chasing route. I would assume. I don't think he's like the type of guy that like goes away for an extended period of time after losing a belt. I know that like we're all expecting that Randy Orton feud to come eventually. That could be with either one of these guys. Like you mentioned CM Punk and Cena having a feud in the summer. Like Randy Orton could very well be that first challenger to John Cena, in my opinion, next month at Backlash in Randy Orton's hometown of St. Louis. I think that would make a ton of sense to kind of avenge Cody potentially after the way that this goes down. So we'll see if that takes place. But yeah, I got John Cena winning the belt here, and then gets very interesting to see what Cody's path after this looks forward to and where the build goes from there.
As we're talking this out, you're even looking at just classic feud of the, Ruthless Aggression era, end of that, and then the late 2000s. I feel pretty firm Cena's going to win this, and then next month we're getting John Cena versus Randy Orton, turn back the clock.
Yeah. You could get that, and then you get Punk later on. Maybe that's like, I know people have mentioned Punk and Roman like being an early match to look for at SummerSlam, first 2-night SummerSlam in Jersey, but maybe it's Punk challenging Cena for the belt. Or maybe Punk's eventually like the last challenger for this belt, because Cena, obviously, this is last year. So is he going to carry the belt all the way through? Is this something he drops at like the last PLE, which I think would be Survivor Series in November? Like, I think it's going to be really interesting, but I think you could see both Randy Orton feuds and CM Punk feuds during the course of this title run.
So I'm looking at the pay-per-view schedule here right now. It says Money in the Bank's penciled for June 7th, and then we got SummerSlam the 2nd and the 3rd. This is, what the hell is this from? It's from AI Overview. And then we got the Clash in Paris August 31st. So
Clash in Paris, yeah.
I think Cena will hold this thing through then. I know at some point, if you're giving Doug Marsh the book, CM Punk versus John Cena is taking place on one of those things. I mean, that's a big stadium show match. I mean, that'd be.
Mm-hmm.
I won't be going to SummerSlam. That weekend's going on in New York. I might actually be in Denver for the Pirate Series then. But if I wasn't, and if they were announcing CM Punk versus John Cena, I'd be buying a ticket to be at MetLife for that one.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And I think that it's very plausible that we get that. Go ahead.
But I just think there's so much more stories you could tell with Cena's heel run. I mean, him only being a heel for a month and then just doing the handshake with Cody after the match. What fun is that? I mean, the last time John Cena had a full-on heel run, I didn't even know what WWE was. Like prior to me being a full-time watcher, like I told you who Cena, Ray, Hulk Hogan, and The Undertaker were, and that was about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, name definitely carries weight. I think he's got to win this belt here. You're going to obviously have what you would have thought would been a feel-good moment when in 17. I still think he's obviously got like his supporters. It's been cool to see the way that the crowd has responded to this turn and everything like that. But I am curious as like how different the reaction is because of him winning 17, if at all. Like, I think that's to be something to watch for as well. Like, is it actually a relative, I'm not gonna say like feel good moment, but like how many of those boos turn to cheers just because we just watched history happen?
You gotta light the Al Davis flame once he gets 17 too. I'll make sure it happens.
And unseating Ric Flair, who I'm sure a lot of people want that to happen, regardless of who would have been. Like anybody just being able to unseat Ric Flair, I think would. I
don't even know what Ric's shoot number is, because obviously he has so many title wins they just don't recognize. So it's you know,
23,
their record looks at 16. It's hard to tell with those, even just reading, because it's like, oh, it was held up, it wasn't recognized by the NWA on this day, so it just makes your brain hurt at that point. So that's why in my head it's like, no, I'm just gonna go with the company says.
All right, well, there we go. We worked our way through 14 matches. I'm glad you caught the Logan Paul AJ Styles one, because we would have skipped right over that, and I'm sure it's going to be an excellent match. Doug, before we get out of here, one, do you have any closing thoughts that you'd like to share? And then two, within the last few months have dove into doing some wrestling writing, putting reviews up for shows, which I'm sure will be taking place after this one. So I'll throw that in the description first off, but also give you the floor to tell people where they can find you and all your work.
Yeah, so you can follow me on X the Everything app at Doug__Marsh. And as Smitty's going to throw in the notes too, I have the Wrestling Marshland WordPress site where I started writing in January. Just wanted to, after watching this for 17 years, just kind of wanted to try to finally get my stuff in written form, because I thought, with how much stuff I watch, I feel like I have, pretty good takes that just need to translate to writing and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll put everything over there. I think my WrestleMania stuff I end up doing might end up being more of a recap style versus doing actual review, because by the time I get home and rewatch everything on VOD, it's going to be a week later at that point. So I'm sure I'm going to end up tossing in pictures of whoever the hell I end up running to on the strip out there, wrestler wise. There we go. So to give context, we're actually staying at the Park MGM, which is down the south end of the strip. So we'll be right by T-Mobile Arena. We're 5 minutes walking, and then the Allegiant Stadium is about 20-25-minute walk from there. So pretty much, everybody's going to be at our end of the strip. And then when they're doing a lot of the post WrestleMania shows, like the Tony Hinchcliffe comedy produce and stuff like that, that's in the Fountain Blue, which is way, way down. I don't think we're going to be doing that. And the tickets for that were pretty expensive too. But I ran into Chris Jericho on the strip when I was there April last year. One of the hotels got a picture with him. So really, really eager to see who I'm going to run into out there. It's going to be a good time. I will say a little bit more expensive than when we went to Philadelphia, but I'm just happy I don't have to worry about dealing with the post-Philly traffic getting out of there, because me and my cousin Ubered from New Jersey both nights, but trying to get an Uber took at least 2.5 hours both nights, but the traffic was just as bad too, so I was glad I didn't have to do that. But now literally can just walk both nights, so I'm pretty thankful with that. And then we might end up doing a Golden Knights game while we're out there, because there we go. Really just depends on when. I think that Raw's the last thing that Monday, so then because the playoffs have started, I'm thinking they're going to start that Tuesday, and then go to see Dead and Company at the Sphere last night. So then I'll be back home. So
full
looking
trip.
Forward to it.
Yeah,
be cool watching the draft while we're out there too.
Yeah, it's just going to be one big event. That's what this thing is. Even if you're not a wrestling fan, it's easy to fall in love with the idea of WrestleMania and the spectacle that it's become. Well, great conversation. Doug, appreciate you joining me. I'm sure you'll see Doug on the channel again in the near future. But be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you are new here, drop me some comments down below. What you're expecting to have happen at WrestleMania 41, any swerves that you could see taking place, just how you think everything's going to shake out over this upcoming weekend. So drop those in the comments. Follow me everywhere, Zachary Smith PGH. Until then, for Doug Marsh, for Zachary Smith, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.